Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick, Caroline Hyde, Taylor Riggs back in the saddle. We're counting you down to the closing bell here on this Thursday afternoon. Here to help take us beyond the bell, our global simulcast with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec. We welcome our audiences across Bloomberg Television, radio, and YouTube. Carol, a shortened holiday week here, and we're ending on a down note.
Yeah, pretty painful. Down about 2% for the S&P, it looks like right now, and more for the NASDAQ 100. I've been watching Bed Bath & Beyond, guys. I'm just kind of a little obsessed. It's down 9 days in a row, down 23%, still up 20% for the year overall, but we've seen a lot of selling in this name as of late.
Lately, we've seen Bitcoin move in tandem, or at least in correlation to tech stocks. Today, certainly no exception, though underperforming the major equity indices, down 3.5% for Bitcoin so far today.
Well, and Tim, you talked about some of the tech stocks. I think it was notable that you sort of had tech underperformance, at least today, relative to the S&P 500. But yesterday was actually the first day in a while where that trend had reversed a little bit, given the big tech underperformance, Caroline, that we've seen as of late.
I mean, the fund flows that you're seeing into the QQQ at the moment, you can be taken off guard from 1 month to the next. At the moment, April looking like another withdrawal of money. We saw actually money pour in the month of March, but it's been a down story for most of the year.
Yeah, a big question here really about investor conviction right now. Obviously, for the longer-term investors, this is just sort of another blip in sort of your long-term investment strategy. For those that are looking for strategic opportunities here, you wonder whether they're willing to actually jump into this given the volatility and the uncertainty.
Yeah, those money flows are interesting, and we have, as Caroline mentioned, seed money both going into equity funds as well as fixed income.
All right, we are getting the closing bells here in New York once again. Remember, Friday here in the U.S. is a market holiday, so this is the final trading day of the week here for equities as well as the bond market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down about 110 points roughly, down about 0.3% here on the day. It's going to finish the week down about 0.7%. The S&P down 1% on the day and down about 2% on the week. The NASDAQ Composite down about 2% here on the day, and on a weekly basis, we're looking at roughly about almost a 3% decline. We'll call it basically 3.1%. And let's take a look quickly here at the Russell 2000. Believe it or not, on a weekly basis, this is the bright spot. It actually closed down about 1% here on the day, but it managed to cling to a modest gain here over the last 4 days of about 0.5%.
All right, and as you said, Romaine, down for the day overall, those major equity averages. Digging a little bit deeper into the S&P 500, you can see that negative tone. 332 names in the S&P 500 lower today, Taylor, 169 higher and 3 unchanged.
You know, Carol, it's interesting when we talk about the internals. It certainly looks a little bit weak, particularly on days like today. For the radio audiences, we do every day. It is the sector best performers and the sector worst performers. And Carol, what stands out to me is there's a lot of red even within the sector best performers, right? But nonetheless, it's interesting. We heard from Quincy Crosby over at LPL Financial saying that even the sector winners, it feels defensive. And you see that, right? It's durables, it's transportation, it's food and beverage, it's utilities. Those are sort of the main sector winners on the day. We go down to the bottom of the screen and, well, it is all technology, right, Carol? It's semiconductors, it's autos, it's technology, it's media, it's software services. Those sectors, you're off anywhere from 2 to about 3.5% on the day.
You know, and I love it, Taylor, that you were looking at those financials, which are down for the day overall. We've heard from all of the big banks. Check it out. You know, Citi, Goldman, Wells, Morgan Stanley, all reporting. But I find what's interesting is, in terms of gainers, U.S. Bancorp, really one of the standouts. It's up more than 4% in today's session. That company saw a first quarter EPS beat. Their first quarter provision for credit losses came in smaller than forecast. And this is a name that was also top in the NASDAQ 100. Also top in the NASDAQ 100 was Marriott International. We've all been watching the travel industry, the hospitality industry, and this name was up almost 3%. We had Joseph Terranova over at Virtus Investment Partners. He said there's pent-up travel demand. We've been talking about that. He recommended buying Marriott International. This stock's up about 10% in the past 3 days and up about 21% since early March. One more name, Nike, a standout, top in the S&P 500, up about 4.7%. JP Morgan sat down with some of the company leaders. They put out a note. They said Nike is positive on the company's Chinese business. We know that's really important. And they said positive despite all of those COVID restrictions. Stock's still down, though, Tim, about 20% so far this year.
Okay, you got the gainers. I got the decliners. You know I was going to start with this
We fought
one.
over Twitter. Can we just say
well,
that?
It was going to be a gainer for much of the day. That's what we had to talk about. But it certainly seemed like late in the day it was heading to the downside. And that's what we're we're seeing it finish. Twitter finishing the day down by 1.7%, but quite the range today. Highs of 5.8%, lows of more than 2.4%. This, of course, is after we learned that Elon Musk has made a $43 billion offer for Twitter.
And we should point out, Tim,
$54.20. Yeah, go ahead.
And we should point out, Tim, that during the pre-market session, I mean, this stock actually did get up to that $54 threshold. I think just below it, around $53.99. So it seemed that the knee-jerk reaction was that there was some sense here that this was a serious offer, and investors did think it was going to go through. But when you got a close here at 45 bucks, lower than where it closed yesterday, and of course, well below the offer price that Elon is making here, you sort of wonder here, do investors think that anything is going to come out of this?
I wonder what plan B is. Elon Musk referred to that.
He did refer to that.
But he didn't give any details.
And now he's picking Twitter fights with Prince Alaouid on Twitter. And
but it's
somebody
still,
who's important
but it's still
to
above,
actually approve the deal.
It's still above, right, when Elon mentioned his passive investment, right? So, like, I guess if it goes below that, then we have to really start to get worried, maybe?
Yeah, well, not materially higher. And then a lot of people, of course, Carol, will then look to where this stock was a couple of years ago when it was, had a $69 trillion market valuation, and a lot of concerns here now about how do you unlock value for this company. I think this was a debate long before Elon sort of entered the picture. But now you got a new CEO, and now you got a board that has to sort of look at Elon's offer and decide, is it in the best interest of shareholders?
All right, Tesla also finishing the day lower. Speaking of Elon Musk, I guess the concerns are that, he's going to have to sell some shares perhaps. Maybe he could do a leveraged buyout and borrow against it. But still, this price, about 1/6 of his net worth is what it would cost. So even though he's the richest person in the world, more than $40 billion, it's still a lot of money. Peloton shares down 4.6%. We talked about it earlier. The company lowering the price of its hardware, raising the price of its subscription to try to change the mix of revenue.
Yeah. It's painful. If
can
you bought the bike when it was expensive.
Can he just buy Peloton?
What's that?
Can he buy Peloton? They need some
easily. He could easily buy Peloton.
Just buy everything. Why not?
But is that the town hall of discourse? No, it's just where we all go to get a feel-good factor and work out and get some good pheromones going around our body. But meanwhile, I'm looking at what also had a feel-good factor on the commodities front. Let's go cross-asset for a moment, Romaine. I'm looking at natural gas on the up almost 5%. We've got a cold snap apparently coming off this glorious weather in New York on the East Coast. But I'm looking at oil pushing higher, actually about 8% higher on the week if you're looking at WTI crude. This is, we still potentially hear reports that the EU could be galvanizing itself to slowly but surely imply some sort of restrictions, some sort of sanctions on Russian oil. So we see oil push higher, Brent crude up 2.3%. But actually metals getting a bit of a bid today, steel up higher. This even as though we see a dollar strength story. So commodities managed to rally even as the Bloomberg dollar index was up 0.5%. That is a story of the trajectory of yields that I'll leave to Taylor finally back in the chair again this week. But on the overall, we're seeing the euro off by 0.5%. Madame Lagarde, the ECB, once again, not giving any on the record hint of really as and when they'll normalize, saying it'll be slow, it'll be flexible. But according to people familiar, we could see the first rate hike in the third quarter coming from the Eurozone, as of course they have to target the skyrocketing price pressure that they see over there, particularly when it comes to oil and gas. We see a Swiss franc, no bid for a haven there, off by 0.9%. And in Europe, well, it's been a global bond sell-off. Overall, yields pushing higher in Italy up 14 basis points, Greece up 15 basis points, Germany up 12, Taylor.
You guys always make fun of me when I say the bond people are the smartest guys in the room. Today they were smart.
And girls.
They went home.
Thank you,
all
Caroline.
the girls went home at 2 p.m. They decided to close the market early. It's a holiday weekend. It's the weird equity people that decided to keep the market open until 4 p.m. Nonetheless, we did get a close, Carol, of course, just 2 hours ago or so. But it was a yield higher kind of day. A little bit of a reversal from what we've seen. 2-year yields, of course, lower on the week. But at least here for the day, you are ending with yields higher, bond price lower.
All right, is it too soon to talk about next week and what's coming?
Yes. No.
Does it involve Elon Musk at all?
Well, you know it's going to
involved.
Elon Musk. He's going to keep us busy. We'll see what happens. We get housing starts. We're going to have more earnings. I mean, what is it kind of top of mind for you guys?
Well, we do have Tesla earnings, Carol, so it is going to
okay. There you go.
So
we get Tesla earnings. Obviously, the earnings themselves mean nothing. It'll just all, of course, be about Musk and sort of what he says about, of course, some of his ventures. I do think the Netflix earnings next week are going to be pretty interesting, too. You remember sort of the last earnings season and a lot of the concerns right now about the company's pricing power and the slowdown here in the growth.
JB Hunt, of course, another big one that we're looking at, Romaine. I know that you mentioned that is a big special that we're going to be focusing on our triple take as you continue to look at some of the inflationary and the pricing pressures underway, indeed, for some of these shipping companies.
What is fair value for Twitter?
What's your discount rate, Romaine?
As long as it has 420 in it, that's fair value.
You did
Everyone's
catch
so
that,
juvenile.
right?
Am I the mature one today for a change?
No, never.
No.
Wait, define
Did you
mature-
say the word pheromones on air?
Twice?
I'm very tired.
We all need some pheromones right now.
Taylor,
All right.
thanks for coming back today, by the way, for the
welcome.
one-day work week.
Yeah, Taylor.
Sure.
You know me.
All right.
She's the smart person in the room.
The Taylor rule. We got to run. All right, guys, have a good weekend, a safe weekend. We will be back, same time, same place. That's going to do it, though, for Beyond the Bell. We will be back on Monday.